SCP-096. My final statement. If you're hearing this recording, then I'm probably dead. I know that sounds dramatic, but after everything I've learned, I don't think there's any point pretending otherwise. My name doesn't matter. The date doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that 3 weeks ago, I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. And now, something is coming for me. At first, I didn't even know it existed. Most people don't. The world is full of things we're never meant to know about. Things hidden behind locked doors, classified documents, and lies carefully constructed to keep ordinary people asleep at night. The people responsible for those lies are called the SCP Foundation. I had never heard of them before. Now I wish I never had. The SCP Foundation isn't a government. It isn't a military. It isn't a corporation. It's something older, bigger. An organization dedicated to finding things that shouldn't exist and locking them away from the rest of humanity. Secure. Contain. Protect. Protect us from what? That's the question I should have asked sooner. They're a warning. The Foundation contains monsters, things that break the rules of reality, things capable of ending lives, cities, even civilizations. And among all the horrors hidden inside their facilities, there was one entity that even Foundation personnel were afraid to talk about. SCP-096. The thing that's hunting me. The thing that's probably hunting me right now. It all started with a satellite image. I worked as an analyst. My job was painfully boring. Every day I stared at mountains, forests, deserts, oceans, thousands of photographs taken from orbit. One afternoon, I noticed something strange near the edge of an image. A figure, tiny, almost impossible to see. Just a few pixels. I should have ignored it. Instead, I zoomed in. And again. For a brief moment, hidden inside those pixels, I saw a face. A pale face. Sunken eyes. A mouth stretched open in what looked like agony. Then I moved on with my day. I had no idea I had just signed my own death warrant. The next morning, someone was hammering on my apartment door. When I opened it, 4 men in black suits were standing outside. They looked exhausted, terrified. One of them held up a photograph. I nodded. Nobody spoke for several seconds. I remember thinking it was strange. I remember noticing the oldest agent among them was shaking. Then he looked at me and said something that still keeps me awake at night. We found him, not we found it, not we found the anomaly, him. As if they were talking about a person, or something pretending to be one. Within an hour, I was on a helicopter, headed toward a Foundation facility, hidden somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Nobody explained anything. Nobody answered questions. The further we flew, the worse the atmosphere became. I've never seen fear like that before. These weren't ordinary people. These were soldiers, scientists, security personnel trained to deal with things most of us couldn't even imagine. And every single one of them looked terrified. That was when I realized the truth. Whatever was coming after me, they were afraid of it too. I arrived at the facility shortly before sunset. The place looked less like a research center and more like a fortress. Concrete walls, guard towers, armed patrols, enough security to defend against an army. Yet somehow, nobody seemed safe. Checking monitors, some stared toward the surrounding wilderness as if expecting something to emerge from the darkness. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around midnight, I finally confronted one of the researchers. I demanded answers. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. Finally, he sat down beside me. "Do you know why the Foundation exists?" he asked. I shook my head. He laughed. Not because anything was funny, because he sounded defeated. The SCP Foundation exists because there are things in this world that shouldn't exist. Then he showed me a file. SCP-096. The creature was over 8 feet tall, pale, emaciated, almost skeletal. But it wasn't its appearance that terrified me. It was its behavior. Most of the time, SCP-096 did nothing. It wandered. It sat. It cried. According to reports, personnel guarding its containment chamber often heard quiet sobbing echoing through the walls. Hours, days, weeks, just endless crying, like something trapped in unimaginable misery. Then the researcher told me the part that made my blood run cold. If someone sees its face, he stops speaking. For a moment, he just stared at the floor. Then he whispered, "It comes for them, no matter where they are, no matter how far away, no matter how many walls, oceans, or mountains stand between them. It always finds them, and nobody survives." I wanted to tell him that was impossible. I wanted to laugh. But before I could say anything, the facility alarms activated. The sound nearly made me jump out of my skin. Red emergency lights flooded the corridors. Personnel began running. Doors slammed shut. Voices screamed over radios. And then something happened that I'll never forget. Everything went quiet. Not immediately, gradually. One by one, the sounds disappeared. The alarms, the shouting, the footsteps, until there was nothing, just silence. A terrible, unnatural silence. The kind that makes your instincts scream that something is wrong. Then I heard it, crying, soft, distant, almost impossible to hear. At first, I thought it was my imagination. Then everyone else heard it too. The crying echoed through the facility. Not screaming, not roaring, not growling. Crying, the sound of something heartbroken, something suffering, something getting closer. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Even the soldiers stood frozen, listening. The crying grew louder, closer, closer. Then came a transmission over the radio. A single sentence. The voice on the other end sounded like he was about to cry himself. "Containment has failed." The room froze. Someone dropped their weapon. Another person began praying. And for the first time since arriving at the facility, I truly understood what was happening. The SCP Foundation, the organization that spent decades containing monsters, imprisoning nightmares, and protecting humanity from things beyond comprehension, had lost control. Not because they were weak, not because they were unprepared, but because SCP-09 didn't care. Walls didn't matter. Weapons didn't matter. Containment didn't matter. The crying was right outside the building now. And somehow, that was worse than any scream could ever be. Because it sounded almost human. Almost. And deep down, every person in that facility knew exactly what it meant. It wasn't crying because it was sad. It was crying because it had finally found me.